The importance of shoes is epic. Shoes are everything. Shoes are for protection. Shoes are for the way we look and the way we feel. If our feet are uncomfortable, all of us is uncomfortable. If our shoes look crap with our outfit, then our whole outfit looks crap. I come from a family of makers and artists. My mum was a painter and my dad was a jeweller. I've been a shoemaker for about 25 years. I did shoemaking for work experience when I was 15, so I probably wouldn't have called myself a shoemaker then, but when I started doing it for my Year 12 project, that's probably when I'd start to call myself a shoemaker. When I'm doing the patterns for a customer, it's very much them that I have in mind and what they want.
The process for coming up with a new pair of bespoke shoes with Jeannie is a really lovely process. We've become really good friends and I enjoy every minute of coming to her shop.
I basically came to Jeannie and said I want something simple that has rockets on it. And fortunately that was interesting enough that she thought it was a fun project.
Bring my designs that I like into Jeannie. I look through the buckle box, which I absolutely love, and we find the buckles that I like and then find the leather and then we go from there.
It's about, I think, the joy of that process, the thinking about, well, what do I want in the way of shoes, and then going through that and then the delight of having them at the end.
Bespoke shoes are made for the customer. So often when I make them, I think they kind of look a bit weird proportionally, but as soon as they're on the feet that they're made for, they look perfect.
I've never really had shoes that have fit in my whole life, not since I was very small. I've never been quite a size 11, I've never been a size 12. I don't find their amazing quality what you can buy off the shelves, so I figured if I'm going to buy something, I might as well buy something nice and something that can last a good long time. I figured it was an investment.
When I was a little girl, I had to wear orthotics, which are kind of a support because I couldn't walk very far. So I was always very limited in the shoes that I could have because they had to fit these funny little things inside. So I was really limited in the kind of shoes that I could have. Fortunately, as I got older, I outgrew them. But I've always been fascinated with the idea of having magical shoes.
Wearing a pair of bespoke shoes compared to having a pair of manufactured shoes is quite a different experience for some people. For someone that has really bizarre feet, they can't even wear store-bought shoes.
One of the main reasons why I chose bespoke shoes is when I was younger, the only shoes that we had that would fit were size 9.5, and I'm a size 10. And so I would have to squeeze my toes into shoes that were too small. And I always hated and resented not having shoes that fitted, or they were too loose or they were too tight. And so having bespoke shoes made has been the best thing.
Handmade shoes can last a lot longer than store-bought shoes, mostly because of the amazing quality of materials that I'm using. Often when people have shoes made, they take extra care of them.
Handmade shoes are made to last, and they last for years and years. I've got some that are 10 years old easily, and I really expect them to keep on lasting for as long as I want them.
I think the advantage of a handmade shoe is that it lasts, and it's certainly a conversation starter. So much like having an extremely interesting pair of socks is an extremely interesting pair of handmade shoes. It's always a good conversation. I keep Jeannie's business cards in my back pocket because it always leads to, where on earth did you get those? And then they usually have no idea that there's anyone in Adelaide that can do that. They usually think it's something from Sydney or Melbourne.
Being a shoemaker in Adelaide is quite unique. There's not very many of us. makes us more special.
I've actually met quite a number of shoemakers throughout my life, which is a bit unusual, but I was an artist for a long time and it's really interesting work. It's not the kind of thing you encounter every day. So when someone says they're a shoemaker, you don't take notice. I think the appeal of a commercial shoe for most people is quite simply convenience. I do understand that. I would get to the end of a year and my shoes would be falling apart. By the time my friends were making fun of me, I'd go to David Jones and look for some more shoes, and those would last me, another 8 months, 12 months. So if you can just pick something off the shelf and say, I subscribe to this shoe, it's a pretty easy option.
I think people have to have a need to have shoes handmade. I see this as my collection that I'm going to build on over the next 20, 30, 40 years.
When I talk to some people I know and say I'll get my shoes handmade, there's this almost, oh my goodness, that it's a really over-the-top luxury that we don't attach to shoes, or maybe some of the upmarket brands, but we don't attach to commercial shoes. I think I would come back and say just habit and what people are familiar with.
At first it seems like an extravagance to spend that kind of money on yourself, but it's really not. It's more of an investment in your comfort and your just everyday joy in living, to have a pair of shoes that suit you and your lifestyle and that are completely unique to you.
I think a handmade shoe is special, much like a handmade book or a handmade anything, really. Just the idea that someone's worked at it, so it has this embodied labour, I suppose. And you do get that with things made by machines, but it's really not quite the same. You can tell there's a great deal of attention to detail, things that wouldn't be quite perfect in a shoe you buy off the shelf.
To me, if I look at the variety, style, colour, purpose, the whole bit, and you can see Jeannie's skills in each and every one of them, and that's just what bespoke shoes are about. Being able to have something handmade just for me wins hands down over scanning the shelves in the stores.
The local shoemaking industry in South Australia, or even Australia, is a bit sad because all the major manufacturers are going offshore, so there's hardly any manufacturers left. So who is left are the very small traders like me. 25 years ago, I used to be able to buy cotton-covered nylon thread easily. It's getting harder and harder to maintain that continuity of getting materials and components, because the suppliers are supplying less and less. Mass-produced shoes probably help my business a little bit, but also make it very difficult. People expect a price point and they don't understand why shoes made to measure are so expensive. I think people should have handmade shoes made for a number of reasons. Firstly, they can have input into amazing design. They can have something made to fit them uniquely, and they're going to have a pair of shoes that are going to last for years and years. Shoes made of really great quality materials tend to become one with the foot and become great friends. Even though it's an old skill and it's an old craft, I still feel like I need to let people know what it involves and how much it involves and how epic one pair of shoes can be. Shoemaking is a challenging trade. I often say when it gets you, it gets you. It's taken over my life. I certainly aren't doing it for any financial gain. It's very much about me needing to make and create and enjoying bouncing off customers and getting ideas from customers. One of my customers said, "Our shoes are doing really well and I still wear our shoes." And it was such a compliment to still be acknowledged for the work that went into them.
What I want other people to know about handmade shoes is just how attainable they are. In all the conversations I've had with people about my shoes, they've been really excited by exactly how, at the end of the day, easy it is to get done. It's not mystical, it's a process, and it's a very caring process.
Really, the phrase handmade shoes sums it up beautifully. Having handmade shoes is a familiar, really valued process for me. And when I look at people who say, oh, handmade shoes, I just think it's a treat, but it's well worth it. I hope that Jeannie works forever and ever making her beautiful handmade shoes, because I'll certainly be a customer for the rest of my life.
My customers are wearing a part of me. It's not just a reflection of the person that's had the shoes made, but also a reflection of me.